What's up, guys? It's Max. Mostly, I got a new video for you guys. I wanted to go over some of the Russian hacking stuff that's going on and what some of the different theories are, and just give you a little gist of what's going on and the controversies surrounding it and why it's still unproven. So we're going to go a little bit deeper here. So what we want to start off is someone on had pointed me to the Mcafee, someone on Twitter. And so I looked in the Mcafee. Of course, I got RT because apparently that's where he went, and basically talks about 4 facts that claim that Russia did this is utter nonsense. And so information was Russian language is found in the malware. Number 2, Cyrillic keyboard was used. And number 3, the compiler, the piece of software that compiles the code so it can execute always dated timestamps. The timestamps were in a time zone for the business hours of Moscow and St. Petersburg and other places in Russia. Number 4, the IP address pointed to a Russian address. So, and then we'll give you him talking about it.
And try to make it very simple for the American people. If the CIA wanted to hack Russia, the things you would not do is you would not include the English language in your software, because that would then exclude everybody except English-speaking nations.
Amateur.
You would certainly not use a keyboard that everybody knows that the CIA uses, whatever keyboard they use. You'd have them use a Chinese keyboard or something else. You would certainly remove the date and timestamp from the program so that you couldn't tell what business hours or what zone you were in when it was compiled. And number 4, you would absolutely not have an IP address that points to you, because
So basically saying they were doing amateur stuff. If this is someone that the Russian government would commission, or that the Russian government did, or something that Putin commissioned, why would they be so careless? Because we wouldn't be that careless, and apparently they're this good, but yet then they're this careless at the same time. So I did a little bit more digging into Russian hacking, and so I found this Ars Technica piece, new Mac malware pinned on same Russian group, blamed for election hacks. So I'm like, okay, so they have a Russian group that's blamed for this. APT28, the Russian hacking group tied to last year's interference. This is actually the first time I've heard about this. So I look into APT28, and it comes up with this. Fancy Bear is the name of their collective, and so this is Democratic National Committee. It says straight up in the Wikipedia. We know how legitimate Wikipedia is, but you know it does point to a narrative that we can at least fact check. Fancy Bear carried out spear phishing attacks on email addresses associated with the Democratic National Committee in the first quarter of 2016. The malware used in the attack sent stolen data to the same servers that were used for the group's 2015 attack on the German parliament. On April 15th, which in Russia was a holiday in honor of the military's electronic warfare services, they became inactive. So they observed a Russian holiday for electronic warfare services. CrowdStrike, which is the company hired by the DNC, released a report publicizing the DNC hack and identifying Fancy Bear. And then Goosefer appeared claiming sole credit, but then people have said that's not true. So another sophisticated hacking group, nicknamed Cozy Bear, was also present in the servers at the same time. However, the two groups each appeared to be unaware of the other, as each independently stole the same passwords and otherwise duplicated their efforts. So which one leaked it? Did Cozy Bear, were they just watching? Cozy Bear appears to be a different agency, one more interested in traditional long-term espionage, so they weren't interested in publishing stuff. They just want to know what's going on. CrowdStrike forensic team determined that while Cozy Bear had been on DNC's network, Fancy Bear had only been there a few weeks. So, you know, here at this point, I was like, yeah, you know, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good story. So you got this Washington Post, and they're also talking about CrowdStrike, and you know, all the different things related to them. Said CrowdStrike's less sure who Cozy Bear works for, but think it might be the Federal Security Service or FSB, and that Fancy Bear works for the GRU, or Russia's military intelligence service, And the lack of coordination is not unusual, he said. There's an amazing adversarial relationship among the Russian intelligence agencies. We have seen them steal assets from one another, refuse to collaborate. They're all vying for power, to sell Putin on how good they are. So if they're trying to sell Putin on how good they are, why were they leaving so many breadcrumbs? Is the question that not only I'm asking, but I don't know if it's Glenn Greenwald here or someone, but let me just read what's in this article in the Intercept. So next, consider the fact that CrowdStrike describes APT 28 and 29 like this. Fancy Bear and Cozy Bear. Love those names. Their tradecraft is superb. Operational security second to none. And the extensive usage of living off the land techniques enables them to easily bypass many security solutions they encounter. In particular, we identified advanced methods consistent with nation-state level capabilities, including deliberate targeting and access management tradecraft. Both groups were constantly going back into the environment to change out their implants, modify persistent methods, move to new command and control channels, and perform other tasks to try to stay ahead of being detected. So compare that description to CrowdStrike's claim that it was able to finger APT 28 and 29, described above as digital spies par excellence, because they were so incredibly sloppy. Would a group whose tradecraft is superb, with operational security second to none, really leave behind the name of a Soviet spy chief imprinted on a document and sent to American journalists? Would these groups really be dumb enough to leave Cyrillic comments on these documents? The keyboard, letting them know what kind of keyboard, Russian keyboard. Would these groups that constantly go back into the environment to change out their implants, modify persistent methods, move to new command and control channels, get caught because they precisely didn't make sure not to use IP addresses they'd been associated before? It's very hard to buy the argument that the Democrats were hacked by one of the most sophisticated diabolical foreign intelligence services in history, and that we know this because they screwed up over and over again. And I'll go back to Mcafee here. He put it away right there. If you're that sloppy, please, that person would be scheduled for a suicide. The information that they provided to us here is not, it's just not, it doesn't make sense. It's not logical. If they were that good, if there was that serious competition, why would they leave all these imprints in there? Why wouldn't they get rid of this stuff? Why would Putin accept that? Why would they leak it if they knew it could be traced back to them? Now, what makes sense, if CrowdStrike could get the information of who hacked the German parliament and what markers were there, then and the fact that a lot of common malwares are used and even sold online, that couldn't some other group make it look like them to make it look like the Russians did it? I don't know. But that's just speculation. But right now, there is no credible evidence. I went into the most serious credible evidence I didn't even see, and I was pretty sure, and I've been watching a lot of stuff. I'd never even heard of APT 28. But now you know, and you can spread this information. Sam Biddle, The Intercept, really good reporting right here. And that's all I got for you right now. And stay frosty. Keep the meme war rolling along. Later.